legitimation by parology. And he kind of describes the postmodern condition as believing that all legitimation is by parology. So legitimation by parology is a very fancy sounding term that means that when we consider something as legitimate, it's because there's a consensus that people believe that it's legitimate. So what he's done, again, is the same mistake. He's taken that step away from the world. He says that the world is kind of irrelevant here. It's just what people decide to agree about the world. There's these social conventions that we've all decided these things will be true and these things are reasonable to say and so on and so forth. And the problem that they have is that they believe that all attempts to understand the world fall within that category. And even if in some, technicality-laden philosophical sense they do, certain ones among them do less so than others. Like Humpty Dumpty language is completely where the word means what I mean it to mean when I say it, nothing more, nothing less, is a far worse approach than, all right, look, language is a set of conventions, but let's agree upon what all the words mean so that we can create shared intention about a world that we both interact in, and we try to describe that. And it turns out that our descriptions, while we may pick out different things, you hear these kind of very almost smarmy, stupid things within postmodernism. Well, if Wokel and I both looked at a tree, he might describe the leaves while I describe the bark and dirt. It's just ridiculously, transparently stupid. It's like if we actually said, like, let's look at the same kind of small area, see what we see. And he starts, talking about the lichen, and I start talking about the bark, and be like, no, look at the bark. And I'm like, oh yeah, I see the bark too. But I was intrigued. So there is this ability for us to connect to the same reality, to view the same reality, to adopt shared terminology. And this is where you start getting into this kind of dangerous stuff where people want to start screwing around with, well, let's use double meanings of every word. Whether it's diversity or equity or whatever it is, let's use double meanings of so many different words. And then you can kind of occupy this space where you can screw around with language and then use it to extract power. And you can start to believe that you live in a world where it is just legitimation by consensus.
You're going to
but none of that is
necessary.
Well, sure, of course, yeah. So, what you see with religion is then, well, what is the thing that everybody has to talk about right now to be considered a good person? Well, it's being anti-racist. So now we're going to reframe sin in terms of anti-racism, and we're going to have pastors getting tearful up in front of their congregations around some dorky video and saying, I'm a racist. I've always been a racist. You have these pastors that are doing this. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, because they mean something different by what they're saying. What they're saying is, I've always had sin. I've been, I'm susceptible to these different kinds of biases. I've thought different things at different times or whatever it happens to be. But man, it's not what people are ever fully going to believe. This is one of my big white pills, by the way. I put this on Twitter yesterday. This is one of my big white pills. I was talking with one of my kind of like Marine Corps, jarhead type buddies. Very down to earth, blue collar, rock solid guy a long time ago, late last summer, middle of last summer, maybe. So, right in the thick of everything going crazy and being very unclear what's going on. And we're talking about the idea of racism losing all of its meaning, which is obviously something people are still talking about. I just saw, John McWhorter shared, I don't know if he wrote it. I think he did write it. An article saying that, yeah, he did write it, that racism's lost all of its meaning and the words and how they're misusing words. And what my friend, who's disconnected from all this Matrix level blue-pilled bullshit, said to me in very plain words was, we didn't forget what racism means. We're just not playing in the stupid game. So hopefully we beat the game, but we still know what racism is and we're still not going to do it. And so it's, when you think about white pills, one of these things, one of the risks of critical race theory is sparking a race war, whether that's just verbally, whether it goes hot, whether it is in, the religious sense where it tears apart churches, different things, could all happen. And people have reported, lots of negative effects of being exposed now unwillingly to critical race theory, thought, and activism in those lines. But the second you kind of take the red pill and get out of the stupid matrix where you feel like you have to participate in the game, you're my jarhead buddy. You're like, no, I know what that is. I don't need anybody to tell me what it is. I already know, and I'm not going to do it. It's bad. Yeah. And it's just that simple for a lot of people. And this is one of the reasons why I keep kind of advocating. It's like, get out of the language game system. Stop playing the game. where everything appears to just be, legitimation by parology, or everything appears to be a manufactured hyperreal. No, just know what you know who you are, and you actually can get past this stuff.